Welcome back to the Detailing Bay. We're going to tackle something that can have even the best of us stumped: pads and polish combinations. We have an earlier episode called The Minefield of Pads and Compounds, but in this episode we want to walk you through the process that will hopefully help you choose the right pad, polish and compound for the job. With me, as ever, is Dave. So Dave, let's kick off. You've got a car, you've got a dual action polisher, you've got some light defects. How do you decide which products to treat them with?
There's a million pads out there, as probably people find out, and compounds as well. And I think the best place to start is any reputable reseller will have sifted out and got the best out there, be it Menzerna, Scholl, Maguire's Professional Stuff, 3D, Zavisa, that sort of line. And each one of them manufacturers also will do pads as well. So pick a manufacturer. And I think if you're new to it, don't get too involved. I think people read up too much into the chemical makeup and they get that involved that they start reading issues that are never going to be apparent to them. So yeah, pick a solid brand from a good retailer. And then from there, you want to look at where you want to go. If you're complete novice, you have no idea at all, it's always best to don't try and pick a pad and pick a compound and go, this is going to give me, mirror-like results, because even if you're doing it day in, day out, that first time the pad comes in contact with the paint, with whatever compound you've gone with, that is your test. You're going to see how the paint's going to react. You can pigeonhole paints to a degree, but you can't guarantee, that is, predominantly German paint is always tough. But then there are probably people listening now going, oh, I've had a Porsche and it's been like butter. And, there is curveballs in there. So it's not always ideal to pigeonhole it. So this is there is some rounded off kits where you can buy samplers. For instance, Menzerna do one where it has the range in it. And unfortunately, sometimes that is the best approach. If you want to try and get out the box something that's going to nail it or get as near as damn it without doing too much research, that's kind of the approach you need. Do you
need to know anything technical about compounds, like diminishing, non-diminishing? What's the rule?
No, not really. I think at a novice level, without not getting too involved with the sales spiel of each brand, is to look on the surface of what the product's saying it's going to do. So obviously a lot of them are going around there, going there. One-step compounds, they're a good place to start, but there's no real thing as a one-step compound. It's just a diminishing compound, but it's labeled to help people make a choice. Any medium cut out there could be classed as a one-step, and some heavy cut diminishing compounds like Menzerna, heavy cut 400, for instance. But there is always that trial and error. But what you've got to remember is it's always going to take your paint to a level it's never been before, probably whilst you've had the vehicle. But nothing is a guarantee unless you want to go, right, I'm going to cover a lot of bases here. I'm going to get a heavier cut compound. I'm going to pick a pad from there as well to accompany that, a medium cut and a finish. And then, the likelihood of you getting the best results you can get are more likely. So it depends on your budget, where you want to go. But if you were trying to do it small and just buy one bottle and one pad, it can be hard to nail it completely, to get every defect.
Well, let's say you've tackled it and you've got heavier defects. What kind of level of cut would you go to? What kind of harshness of pad would you go?
What's worth remembering is, say you're using a medium cut compound, it's ridding the swirls, but like you said, there's just a couple of fine, brambles, something brushed up against it. It's improved it, but it's not rid of them. I would always say go again with the setup that you're using. Let's see if you can.
So just repeat exactly what you've done.
So repeat the process. You're attacking it just a lot slower. And if you're getting it to a point where you're going, I've hit it again and it's even better now, it's just showing faintly, you're going, well, go again. If you feel happy and that you feel the paint's got it in it, then go again. The reason why Professional would just go with a heavy cut compound is because why waste an hour and a half of your time that you could do in 15 minutes? So if time's not money, then you can push these products, but you've got to be mindful as well. You won't want to go around the car 3 times with a medium cut compound, because it does get to a point where you want getting expensive now because you're using more product.
And pads, maybe.
And pads, and you're probably going to lose the plot a little bit having to go around the car 3 times. You're probably not going to give it as good a hit as you're getting more, probably a little bit bored, tired, and all the rest of it.
So starting from the top, you're on the website. You need some pads. You need some compound. What do you start with? Because it's a minefield.
New to polishing, I would always recommend just going with go with a medium cut polish, and there will be pads recommended around that. The manufacturer will do pads that. So to keep it really simple, go for a medium cut compound and go with the recommended pad by that manufacturer for that.
Is that information clear? Like if you're going for a medium
It is,
cut,
yeah. So what you'll find with all compound manufacturers is they will always accompany it because they'll develop around their own pads. You've got to give it a bit of a guide for them to give what their cuts are and so on. Yeah. So they make it very easy. Menzerner make it incredibly easy, especially now they're colour coded. So yeah, Menzerner just go with their medium cut and then their medium cut pad as well.
Is the colour tied together as well? So like, is the medium cut a yellow bottle and a yellow pad, for instance?
Yeah, they are with Menzerner, but that doesn't obviously extend through.
Right, for other brands.
Yeah.
Right. If either of those combinations aren't touching it and you've got a slightly heavier defect, what do you step it up to?
Two approaches, really. You can just go and realise you're going, you know what, if you, in terms of not touching it, you feel like you're not making any impact whatsoever on that paint, then you need to look at the setup you've got. The medium cut just hasn't got enough in it, and possibly the pad as well. So you would just logically step it up. So you're using a manufacturer now, you're used to their compounds. I'd say stick with them for now and go up their next cut level and go with one of their actual cutting rather than a medium cut, you know, a heavier cut basically. And you can couple that with their pad as well. But you can always mix and match. You don't have to go the heaviest first. You can use a heavy cut on the medium cut pad. And then, yeah, the same process again. Just don't try and do too big an area, just 2 square foot area, and get a feel for it and see if you're getting that correction now. If you are getting that correction and you're happy with the results, then, you know, you've tailored it and then you continue round. If you do, sometimes you will find it, and it haunts everybody, is you'll go around, you'll do a heavy cut, you'll wipe down, and then you'll have a step back or get a bit closer, and you'll think, oh, there's just a couple of, you know, a few little bits still in there. That doesn't warrant having to change everything up. That's just a case of, you just, with diminishing, obviously at some point that cut is tapering off. You just need to go again on that area. Just repeat that process.
So you've got a heavy defect. It's borderline whether it needs a respray. How do you tackle that?
So I would say to people, if they're kind of at that point where they go, you know, I'm ready to get quotes from a body shop, you think, well, for the sake of, say, £30-40, yeah, is it worth taking the gamble? Not too worried about the fact that, you know, if it goes pear-shaped and you damage it further, make it look worse, you've not lost too much. But if it pays off, you've saved yourself a fortune. So it's assessing how deep the scratch is. And that is hard to do with, you know, with basic tools. But you've got to look at it is the more you've got to cut with a dual action, the longer. It's all down to time. So at some point you've got to look at, do you wet sand it or do you keep it with a compound? And that kind of is up to you, how much time you've got. You could go again and again and again, keep repeatedly hitting it with a heavy cut compound and slowly, you know, make your way through it. Some people kind of get it to a point, like, because obviously a deep scratch will look quite nasty when it's fresh, purely in the fact that it's not smooth, it's got sharp edges, and the way the light reflects off that makes it look worse. When you start machining that area, it will round the edges off, and for a lot of people it gets to a point where it's no longer this eyesore, it's just you've got to look for it a little bit more. And they go, you know what, I'm happy with that. You know, it's a compromise, but I'm happy with it.
You can almost just fill it with a little bit of wax or just layer some wax
it'll just, because you've got to remember, you're bringing the gloss up as well, and that's going to dazzle people, and it's going to help just take the edge off it. Also colour dependent, you know, if you've got heavy metallics, things like that, other things that are going to distract the eye a little bit. So it's looking at it and going, you know what, I'm happy with that, and I don't have to spend £700-800 now getting the paint done. But there are cases where people go and they've gone as far as the compound can go, really. You've got to look and think, you know, a couple of sheets of wet and dry, I'm gonna sand this down, I'm gonna speed the process up. But at that point, if you're a novice to it, then you've got to either be prepared for the worst, because you're taking a lot more off a lot quicker, and it is always that gamble. as you do it more and more, you do get a feel for
That's
it.
your time to practice, though. If you think you're going to need paint anyway, it's a good opportunity.
Yeah, because you'll be more relaxed.
Yeah.
You're trying to wet sand when you're not relaxed and you're worried. You generally make a bit of a pig's ear of it because you're very patchy. You need to be very even, consistent, and fully commit to it.
Yeah. What about if you're using a rotary? Are you using the same pads? Because obviously rotary is going to bite quicker, it's going to correct quicker.
Yeah, simple terms. Yeah, you could use the same pads. It's the other way around that tends to have more of an impact. A DA is a little bit more fussy with pads. A rotary is straightforward. It spins on the axis. But I definitely have a preferred type of pad for a rotary. I don't like a flat pad because on certain paints that can give some of the traits of rotary that can make sometimes feel like you get more feedback, more pull, risk of like a buffer hot. I like a pad that doesn't have full contact. A really good one, Chemical Eyes Hexlogic pads and Shine Mate Black Diamond both work really well because you've reduced the amount of surface contact, so it just gives you that little bit of extra control. But other than that, there isn't a huge difference. Obviously, you can use deep pile wool on a rotary, and it's going to cut a lot more, a lot quicker, but it makes a mess as well. Got to clear them holograms up. So the pad choices pretty much are the same if you're going to go from a DA to a rotary.
Right. Another question I just want to ask. Take a look at like Lake Country's range where you've got CCS, HDO, CCS, you've got the Force, which has got an angle. Why is there so many different pads available when they're all fundamentally doing the same thing, aren't they?
Lake Country is a good example of them moving forward with the machines available. If you look at it simply from the outside, detailing it as a rotary and it has a dual action, but when you look deeper into it, that's not the case. It is with a rotary. Rotary's never changed, and nobody's tried to reinvent the wheel with that. But if you look at dual actions, you've got 8mm, 12mm, 15mm, 21, gear driven. All these require pads to cater for that. For instance, if you're using a 15mm throw machine and then you're using a really thick pad, you're going to lose some of that, the impact of that 15mm throw through flexing the foam. So then you will get, what you'll see sometimes is shallow pads, which will reduce the movement. But then sometimes you'll see a deep pad, say 25mm, designed for a 15mm, so it's fixed still, but it'll have two foam structures in it. So the one foam structure is a lot firmer. So you're actually getting, some people don't want to be as close to the paint. They like the fact they have that extra padding.
Mm-hmm.
So what you do then is you have a denser foam with the finer foam, so the flex doesn't happen
I'm
still.
with you. So as it's oscillating,
so you can have like Svisa do some very shallow. I think they're around 15mm, which is a really nice pad. But not everybody is always keen on being that close to the paint with a backing plate as well. So some people like that, 25mm distance. But obviously, if you're using a 15mm with the same foam through, you'll get flex and you lose some of that effect of 15mm. So then you have layered pads where they have a denser foam. So you're still effectively cutting and using the foam of about 10-15mm. And then the other 10-15mm is taken up by a denser foam that doesn't flex.
That makes sense. What about when they're tapered? Is it that just to get a bigger surface area?
Tapered, yeah. So I'm a big fan. I like the two main ones really are like beveled and tapered. I like tapered because on a rotary they're really nice. You can take them right up to the edge, but you're just keeping the backing plate and everything else just out of the way. Yeah. With a dual action, obviously you've got to be more mindful of going up to edges because of the way they oscillate. But it does give you that extra padding. It does give you that extra safety net with tapered because you've effectively, the face is slightly larger. You've just got to be mindful that tapered does increase the face of the pad, and on a dual action and even on a rotary that will alter the cut slightly. Your true 5-inch to a true 6.5-inch, there is a cut difference.
Choosing your pad and compounds can be tricky, especially if you're new to paint correction, so hopefully we've cleared a few questions up there. There are more episodes of me and Dave chatting on paint correction, and you can listen to them wherever you listen to your podcast. We've also got some user guide videos on our YouTube channel, and there is a growing collection of blog posts over at cleanyourcar.co.uk. So hopefully we've got you sorted with everything paint correction. Thanks for listening, and join us again soon.